Hi everybody, this is Carla, and this time I'm back with a review for episode 17 of season 4 of Major Crimes. This episode is titled #Find Kayla Weber, and I have to say it might not be the best episode ever, but it was an episode that actually got hit me really hard because it's one of those episodes, it's one of those stories that could so easily be true, and sometimes they are, and it's completely disheartening because for the first half of the episode I was actually holding on to hope that this poor little girl was actually alive. And just, you hear stuff about people being stuffed in refrigerators or put in boxes or thrown into garbage bags and stuff like that, and it's already horrifying enough without adding to it the idea that it might be a 4-year-old kid. How traumatizing is that? And it kind of sent me to shock a little bit once it happened. And it's just so horrible because at the same time, it's not necessarily that the girl, it's not like she was actually murdered by someone. It was just her parents were so out of touch with reality that not only did they not care for her properly, they didn't even bother, giving her a decent, end. You know what I mean? Like, even after she was dead, they just let her go with some dude who stuffed her in a refrigerator. Come on, it's terrible. And the worst part of it is that, the worst part of the story, not of the episode, the whole worst part of a story like this is that the parents, they kind of don't even know what they did wrong, It's one of those things where, the mother was just so high and so drunk that she could barely even notice what was happening. The father was so tied up in his public life that it didn't kind of register with him. And then the bodyguard still covering everything up. I'm like, no, why? Your first instinct should be to do something for this poor little girl, but you're still only thinking about yourselves. And it's so sad because that happens in real life so often. And, it's just one of those things, So many kids suffer from what their parents do or go through, and it's terrible because you think that drugs and celebrity and stuff like that, and just all the grown-up issues and all the stuff that grown-ups end up getting into, you think, oh, you keep your child away and it's not going to affect them. But I'm sorry, it's going to affect them either way. Either because they see it themselves, because children are not stupid, they see things, they know, they're curious, they try, they go, they look. Either because they see it themselves, or because you just miss out on doing something that was very important that you had to do for your child and you didn't do it. So in this case, it's kind of both a case of neglect and a case of, letting this poor kid see something she shouldn't have seen. I think what hit me the hardest, though, is that both the mother and the father seemed so genuinely distraught about their child being quote-unquote kidnapped, And even when they were told she was dead, it seemed so real. It's almost scary because it just flashes me back to, all these celebrities that have been accused and tried for horrible crimes, things like O.J. Simpson or stuff like that, who've been tried for such horrible crimes, and for the longest time they keep insisting, no, I didn't do it, it wasn't me, I'm being framed, or whatever it is that they try to insist on their defense, and they seem so genuine about it. And because they're famous, and because people want to think the best of them because they're good at what they do, their art or their sport or whatever it is, people want to think the best of them, and they seem so genuine that you just kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, and it's scary how genuine these people can seem. And I was completely fooled by the mom and the dad in this thing. Like, even up to the point when they were told that she was dead, and the mother started crying, and the father started shaking his head like, no, it can't be. I'm like, oh my god, it really feels like they didn't know anything. Turns out they did, and I'm just kind of in shock that they could be such good actors to actually pull that off. And it's scary that people can actually be that good actors. Those, they can be really good at pretending they didn't do anything. Almost have everybody convinced even themselves that they didn't do anything wrong. And that's why I think this episode actually really hit me really hard, because it's something that we've seen so many times happen all over the media. And you just never know with people, they might seem so sincere and so actually completely distraught over something that happened, and then turns out it was all faked. It was a pretend, or they were crying about something that, wasn't what they were supposed to be crying about. Like, I guess the mother was actually crying about the fact that she got found out, or she was going to get found out. There's still things that I don't like about this plot. It's like, oh, the mom thought a kidnapping was going to be better than admitting that she neglected her child and she overdosed on drugs. Sure. Bring the police into it. That makes total sense. You're a really smart lady. No, you're not. So, those little things is like, really? Was nobody actually thinking in this little, plot they had going? Nobody actually gave it a thought that maybe bringing the police in was better? Why give it to a guy who would stuff her in a refrigerator? Why not, throw her into the ocean or something? They probably had enough time. Why not bury her somewhere that she couldn't be found? They had the means, right? So what? It didn't seem like they were very smart. But again, it's just scary. So I'm sorry about that. I can see some little bits and pieces where the plot just doesn't hold up in a way, because why were they so stupid as to do that? But at the same time, I liked it because it reminded me of how scary people can be, especially if they have the means to be doing illegal things and not care about their children being around that. It's kind of terrifying. That leads me to the other plot, which was the Slider plot, which I liked, again, because it's, once again, it's someone who's so convinced of something that he can almost, convince everybody else that he didn't really kill Mariana, or that he was doing it as a product of his environment or his upbringing or whatever it was. But I think they handled it well. They did state that Rusty didn't necessarily know if he believed in the death penalty, which is good, because it's kind of the same position that I am too. It's like, I don't believe in the death penalty, but that doesn't mean that that person doesn't have to own up to their what they did. I think it's interesting that we didn't actually see the result. I guess we all kind of assumed after Slider took the stand that they weren't really going to give him the I don't know, they might have given him the death sentence, or they might have just given him life in prison or something. Because on the one side, he wasn't regretful of anything he did. On the other side, he was so unhinged that he actually didn't think he did anything wrong. So, but I like the way they handled it. Because oftentimes in trying to save someone from the death penalty, it kind of goes to the other extreme. And it shouldn't, because that person is still guilty that person still did something that thousands of people who have the same issues don't do. And that, I thought it was great when Rusty took the stage and he's like, yeah, if he's a product of his upbringing, then so am I, so was Mariana, and none of us killed anybody, so it's important that people recognize that while the way you grew up, your environment, the society around you, it does shape you, it doesn't take away your free will. You need to know what you're doing. It's an explanation, but it's not an excuse. And I think they played that off really well with Slider. I also love that Dr. Joe came back. Yay, Dr. Joe, I love him. Every time he goes back into an episode, it's guaranteed to be a good one. So, yay, Dr. Joe. And I thought he was right on point. He's like, yeah, sure, Slider has some issues. He has, very low self-esteem and whatnot, which is a problem that many teenagers do these days, and it's understandable, and you should try to help them as much as you can, but that doesn't mean they get free reign to just go out and kill people, right? Just because you have low self-esteem doesn't mean you're out of touch with reality. It doesn't. So, I thought it was very succinct, the way Dr. Joe put it, and I thought it was really well done. So I really liked it. I also really liked the little hints that they threw about Gus. Because I knew that was coming. I think I mentioned it in my previous review that it seemed like they were hinting at something, between the two of them, which is great because I really want Rusty to have a good boyfriend. It's one of my wishes for this season for him to actually have a good boyfriend, and preferably one that's good to him and not involved in any, gang business or mob business or drugs or anything like that. Gus seems like a nice guy. The whole murdered sister aside. So I like that they admitted that there's something between them somehow. Obviously Rusty doesn't seem like he's ready for it, but we'll see where it goes. I hope they don't just drop it, so because I really want to see Rusty kind of own up to it. I mean, it took him a while to own up to the fact that he was gay, to himself and to the people around him. Maybe it's time for him to actually, give the love life a try, I guess. So I'd like to see that. Hopefully they will drop it, but I thought it was a nice start and a nice conversation. It was nice that Gus isn't, into Rusty solely because of the trial, that there's something there. I mean, they have to get to know each other. Like Rusty said, they don't really know each other, but it would be a nice start, I think. So I want to see that, and that's about it for this review. I mean, overall, I liked the episode. It did have a few plot holes that I didn't like. Not plot holes, but just things where I'm like, really, are you stupid? Why are you doing that? But it was good. I thought it was emotional, and I thought it kind of put out there a different kind of evil in people. Not necessarily evil, but just neglect and the lengths that people will go to keep their status quo when they're in bad situations. It's like when they're in drugs, when they're in, they're famous. A lot of those things kind of become so important to people that they tend to forget about the most important thing they have, which is their children. So I thought that put into perspective the lengths that just the people can get to, and it's actually really scary the way they portrayed it. So yeah, I liked that part. I liked the trial with Slider. I thought they did it really well. I hope the Gus Rusty thing goes somewhere, and I'm interested in seeing how things play out from this point on, because I guess the Slider thing is over. I mean, I thought it was going to last longer. I don't know, maybe I'll see something more about it in the next episode, or in the next few episodes. I guess we'll see. But I like this episode. It was pretty good. I like the themes that were touched on it. So yeah, that's about it for me now. As usual, remember to visit our website at thegeekypub.com. We have not only reviews for major crimes and previous episodes, but also other TV shows. We also have books and movies and games and a ton of stuff in there, so be sure to check it out, give it a try. Just browse around, there's a ton of stuff. And again, as usual, if you guys want to be notified as soon as we upload a new review, then you want to be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which the link should be right beneath this window somewhere. So because that's usually where the videos, the reviews go up first. They're on video, so they go up first on YouTube, and then we cross post them to the site. So if you guys want to know straight away when we upload something, YouTube is the place to go. And that's it for now. I'll see you guys in my next review. Bye.